Killer Catch fans have always had their hearts in their mouths because of the hard things that the group has to deal with. But they were not ready for the terrible tragedy that Mandy Hansen, daughter of the show's captain Sig Hansen, had to go through outside of work. On Deadliest Catch, we saw how determined the crew is to keep putting their lives at risk in the harsh Bering Sea, and how brave they are when they are in very real danger. But since it was a television show, there was always that safety net. There was always a plan in place to limit the damage that could happen. In real life, there are no do-overs or plans to lessen the damage of unplanned events. However, Mandy did experience a terrible, unplanned tragedy, and it happened. This is her story. Mandy was born in Seattle, Washington on May 15, 1996. She may have never been near a fishing boat. But June Hansen, her mother, got a divorce from her father and married Sig Hansen, a fisherman who was the CEO of the Northwestern fishing fleet. The fleet was owned by Sig, his brothers Norman and Edgar Hansen, and him. Mandy's mother married Sig, and Sig took her in and gave her the last name Hansen. That's how this love story with the sea started. Mandy Hansen grew up with a deep love for the ocean and all the creatures that live in it, which affected her work and interests later on. Before she turned 18, she had graduated from Bishop Blanchett High School in Seattle and went to San Diego to keep going to school. She went to the California Maritime Academy to learn about the sea in order to become a fisherwoman. She was very dedicated to fishing even before she got her master's degree. Sig, her father, didn't want her to do it because he thought it was too risky. He wanted her to get a safer job like her brothers. But Mandy wouldn't give up on her dream, which showed how determined she was to do well in the fishing business. She often spent the summers on Sig's fishing boat, where she learned how to fish, and how to deal with problems that came up. Her father often said that she liked to go on adventures and be outside. He would say she just wants to be on the water. I believe she will want to do anything she can to be on the water, which is great. I told her that being on the water doesn't mean she has to be a crab hunter. On the other hand, Sig was worried. He was afraid for Mandy's safety and knew that he would have to face those fears one day. Sig often told her she could watch him in his group work, but she didn't have to join in. Mandy was set on her choice, even though he hoped this would change her mind. She wasn't content to just watch, she wanted to be a part of the activity. Even though her dad kept trying to talk her out of it, Mandy was excited to learn how to crab. He decided to try one last time to talk her out of making fishing her job while they were driving together one day. He told her how smart she was and how good she could be in another field to get her to think about other options. He told her, "You're so smart, you could be very successful in other jobs." That's not good enough. Why would you settle for fishing? However, Mandy told him that he had not changed her mind. In fact, he had made her more determined to keep fishing. Sig wasn't ready to give up even after hearing her answer. He chose to do things differently. He began to tell her about the dangers of working in the fishing business in the hopes that she would change her mind. He talked about how dangerous the job could be by showing how team members could be attacked by poisonous fish or drown in the middle of the ocean. He said that it can be very useless to be so far from shore and have no choice but to wait for help to arrive. He did say all of those things out of love and care, of course. He was aware of how dangerous fishing could be and didn't want his daughter to be in situations that could kill her. But Mandy's determination showed that she was ready for the risks and difficulties of the job she loved. When she saw that her dad wouldn't stop trying to get her to change her mind, she actually began looking for other jobs. Some fishing CEOs who had seen her work at Sig wanted to hire her. She gave these offers a lot of thought. However, Sig saw that she was determined to become a fisherman with or without his help. He chose to teach her everything she needed to know instead of letting her work for other boats. Then Mandy became a greenhorn, which is a term for someone who is new to the fishing business and joined the Northwestern team. Mandy worked hard. She knew she had to show that she was good enough to stay on the boat after hearing from her father and the more experienced crew members. In just a few shows of the Deadliest Catch, Mandy proved that she was skilled and willing to work hard enough to keep working with her dad. She showed that she was good enough to be on the Northwestern crew, and she was excited about the prospect of going on more fishing trips with him. Sig is the oldest of 3 boys, and fishing has always been a big part of his family life. It was only natural for Sig to follow in the path of his father and grandfather, who were the first people in Alaska to fish for opalio crabs. When Sig was 14, he started working on his family's boat while still going to school to learn how to fish. He chose to become a full-time fisherman after high school and spends about 10 months a year in Alaska and the Bering Sea. He sometimes fished for mackerel and cod in Norway during the summer, which helped him get better. Even though Sig didn't want to go to college, helping his dad on deck gave him useful training. He filled in for other leaders on the Northwestern family boat when they were sick or away by the time he was 22. He also worked part-time on other fishing boats to get more practice. After 2 years, Sig became the official captain of Northwestern and was in charge of the whole fleet. Captain Sig was known for putting safety first above all else. Northwestern had a great safety record while he was in charge, with no crew members dying. In the dangerous seas of the Bering Sea, this accomplishment showed how much Sig cared about keeping his team safe. He worked hard and cared about safety, which made him one of the most recognized people in the fishing business. It happened on April 12, 2005, as Sig joined the cast of the hit Discovery Channel reality show Deadliest Catch. The show was mostly about 2 crab fishing seasons in the Bering Sea and showed what life is like on different crab fishing boats. The fishing fleet was based in Dutch Harbor in Alaska's Aleutian Islands. When Sig wanted people to see how hard fishermen worked, how dangerous it was, and how dedicated they were, they got it. Each show's episode was based on a story or a problem that one or more boats were having. To keep people interested, the show also showed the personal lives and problems of individual crew members. In Alaska's rough seas, Sig's boat, the Northwestern, often went up against other boats to see who could catch the most crabs. In case you didn't know, crab diving is one of the world's most dangerous jobs. In 2006, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics found that 141 out of every 100,000 people who worked in commercial fishing were killed on the job. This was the highest rate of any job. It was all because of the rough weather, the cold water, and the big machinery. Statistics make it very clear how dangerous it is to fish for crabs. About 1 fisherman dies every week during the main crabbing season. Because of how hard the work is, almost every team member gets hurt. More than 80% of the deaths are due to drowning or getting too cold after falling into the cold water. Because of these risks, the production team worked to get the fishing rules changed so that the fishers could do their jobs safely. In fact, the U.S. rescue planes from the Coast Guard were stationed in key places like Kodiak, Alaska, and St. Paul Island, which is close to the crab fishing grounds in case of an emergency. Sig has had to deal with the hard truths of both the dangerous Bering Sea and his own health problems. He had a heart attack at sea, about an hour from the nearest town in season 12. At first, he thought the pain in his arm and chest was just from not getting enough sleep. It turned out to be a very bad heart attack called the Widowmaker, which usually ends in death. After that, in 2019, he had another heart attack. His team was wondering if he could still handle the heavy responsibilities of being the captain of a fishing boat. Even though Sig had health problems, he got better and came back to the show the next season, showing how strong he is and how much he loves crab fishing. If his daughter Mandy decided to keep fishing, she would have to deal with all the risks that come with it, but Sig wasn't ready to quit his job just yet. Mandy may have a strong connection to the ocean and her family history through her love of the water and her desire to follow in her father's path. The trip hasn't been easy though. Always going to work is the hardest thing for people with jobs, especially when things are bad. This was clear to Mandy. That's why she worked so hard to show her dad that fishing made her happy and get him to back her dream. After that, she was the youngest woman to ever fish in the Bering Sea. Even though she had reached that goal, she knew there were still many more obstacles and fishing trips to come. As she prepared for her next trip, she often felt both excited and worried. She thought about how things would be different on this trip. She was no longer a guest or part-time crew member, she was now a full-time member of the team. Mandy wasn't afraid of the sea, but she knew that the people she worked with had to trust her because the business they were in was so risky. One other thing she was very aware of, when she stepped into the tough, dangerous world she was about to enter, she felt like a woman. Many fans were always interested in what the guys thought of her doing the job. She was also worried about how the workers felt about her. They need to find out why she wasn't learning something safer at school. She came from a very rich family. It was easy to live, and Sig was in charge of the whole family. Because she only got the job because she knew Sig, it's understandable if they thought she wasn't tough enough to do it. It was important to Mandy to show them they were wrong, make a good impact, and prove herself. Like the rest of the crew, she had to show that she could make tough choices and deal with tough scenarios, and the chance came up. Mandy and her dad were on the boat one day when something almost went wrong. The boat was about to blow up because the power went out. There was silence. After a short time, someone on the team yelled fire. They all knew that none of them would make it back to land alive if the fire spread. Even though there was danger, Mandy kept her cool. She helped her dad put out the fire while they worked together. The group was safe again because they thought quickly. People started to praise Mandy for being brave and keeping her cool after what happened. It was clear that the crew respected her. People said she was charming, driven, and worked hard. Sig had hoped that the experience of almost dying would make her think twice about her job choice. Mandy became stronger and more driven because of it. Because she worked hard at her job, fans of The Deadliest Catch loved her, and she became a recognized reality TV star. It was her personal goal to become the best fisherwoman in the world. That's why she chose to study marine studies more and get a bigger license. If she got a bigger license, she could work on any big ship, which would make her very useful to any fishing business. She was also interested in starting a small family while following her dreams in a job that had a lot of risks and unknowns. The big question was whether she would have to give up her plans to start a family or if she could make them work together. You might think that Mandy, who works with men all the time, would have trouble with her sexuality and become very masculine, which most men find very attractive. However, Mandy was able to keep her feminine side while she rose through the ranks and became second in charge. The crab fisherman that Mandy is married to, Clark Pedersen, used to work for her father, Sig Hansen, before he joined the Northwestern group. Clark made it through college at Pullman's Washington State University, and then said that he trained for 10 years to be a captain on the Columbia River after college. He wanted to be a marine pilot and help ships get through dangerous currents, bars, and shoals. Clark and Mandy didn't meet at work or on her dad's boat. It was at the Maritime Academy that they met for the first time. Clark was there getting his third unlimited license. Mandy already knew about the Deadliest Catch at that point, but Clark wasn't pleased right away. He was more interested in what the young woman had to say. Clark joined the Northwestern's crew as a greenhorn. He and his new friends quickly became close because they both loved the sea and the tasks it offered. Clark was Mandy's best friend and knew she could reach her goal of becoming the boss of Northwestern after being on the show Deadliest Catch full-time. He went to see the Hansen family in Seattle in one episode to ask Sig's permission to marry Mandy. After getting Sig's okay, Clark went to find Mandy and was ready to ask her to marry him. Clark asked Mandy to marry him by calling her alone on deck and making the proposal. Mandy gladly agreed. After that, they got married in a wedding service held in front of the Northwestern ship at a Seattle fishing shipyard. The wedding was a happy event. Sig, Mandy's father, walked her down the aisle and was her best man. It was a special moment between them. Friends and family came together to support the newlyweds, making the room feel warm and caring. The dress and customs of Norway were mixed with those of the United States at the ceremony. There was a short clip of the wedding in the next show of The Deadliest Catch. Soon after, the couple went back to working hard on the deck, continuing to play their parts on the show. Clark later said that working with his wife Mandy and his father-in-law Sig made him feel a little nervous. He stated, "You want to do your best so that your wife and father-in-law are proud of you. You have to step up because of it." Clark knew that Mandy and Sig were proud of what they had done and that they worked well with others. Their family was about to go through a terrible tragedy that they didn't know about. It would take a lot of teamwork to keep everything from falling apart. Mandy kept some parts of her life secret, even though she was a reality TV star. She was second in charge at her dad's business, married to a wonderful man, and had everything she needed to start a family, which was what she had always wanted. But she and her husband were trying to have a child but hadn't been able to. All of a sudden, she told her fans some sad news. During her loss, Mandy wrote on social media about it. She wrote this sad poem about her future child. "Every day I still think about you. I can't put into words how much I love and hurt you. We hope to see you one day, little one. Always and forever, Mama will love you." She sent the message along with a picture of herself in a small white onesie and crab-themed shoes, which showed how sad she was. She had this loss while filming season 15 of Deadliest Catch. She said in her sad message that no woman should have to go through such a terrible loss. She also told him how much she loved her baby and how she would never stop loving him. Her words showed that she had hope and faith that she would see her child again one day. People who saw Mandy's post sent her a lot of messages of support, telling her to stay strong and sorry for her loss. Some people even said, "I hope you get your rainbow baby soon." These words of comfort gave Mandy strength and the help of her husband and other people she cares about. Things were hard at work too, though. Fans said that Mandy had become the show's main star and was gradually taking on more responsibility. Her dad, who was the show's first star, had been slowly handing over the lead to her. She learned how to run a ship, make sails, and be a leader as a child, which made her move into a leadership role easy. Mandy was in charge of the boat one day when she faced her biggest leadership test yet. Two guys went overboard to make sure they knew where the crab pot was before the crew dropped it into the water. During a normal task, the crew saw that a hook had come loose, but they couldn't fix it because the boat was going too quickly. The crew tried very hard to tell Mandy to slow down, but she was thinking about something else. Right on time, a warning went off, and she slowed down the boat. After a short time, the loose hook flew off the rope and toward the crew, who quickly ran for safety. The hook just missed them by an inch. No one was hurt, but the incident made everyone on board tense. If the crew had taken a few more seconds to respond, someone could have been seriously hurt. Mandy was shocked. Before this happened, the crew was caught on camera talking about how worried they were about Mandy's safety and the state of the boat while she was in charge by herself. At the time, Sig was on break. When he got back and heard what happened, he gave Mandy a harsh lecture. Mandy said she would be more careful because the close call taught her a good lesson. She knew that the crew and her father were right to respond the way they did. The group of Deadliest Catch has lost many people over the years, so it wasn't easy to just let go of this situation. The good news is that she kept taking care of the boat even though the conditions were bad. But as the saying goes, bad times pass, but tough people stay. Mandy got better faster. She was still set on starting a family. She wasn't going to give up on her dream of having a child, even though her miscarriage had broken her heart. In the end, on November 10th, 2022, she and her husband Clark had a girl named Sailor Marie Peterson. They were very happy, and shared lovely pictures of the 8-pound baby from the birth room. In a short time, Sig arrived to meet his niece. He was very moved. As he rocked her softly, he watched her yawn and move her little arms. He then said it will be a little while before we're back out at sea, which meant that he agreed that times like this made their job harder. It's hard to go back out and fish when things are like this, but that's all we do. We only know how to do that. It's that way for sure. After a week, Mandy was ready to show off her new baby. In a short but touching comment, she talked about how amazing it was to have a baby. The best feeling in the world is welcoming a child into the world. When you first touch your baby, your whole world changes. You know right away that saving their life is the most important thing. Sailor Marie has finally come into our world after a long week in the hospital. She talked about why she picked the name Sailor. She and Clark wanted a name that showed their Scandinavian roots, the way they lived, and their job as professional Bering Sea crab fishermen. They decided that giving their girl the name Sailor Marie was the best choice. Mandy surprised her fans by going back to the deck of the Deadliest Catch after giving birth. A lot of people thought she would quit the show after having her child, but Mandy had other ideas. She was eager to continue her father's work at Northwestern and carry on the family tradition of fishing for crabs. She has been putting pictures of her husband and kids on social media lately to share moments with her family. In an Instagram post on April 27th, she showed pictures of her daughter and husband doing different things. Along with the picture, she wrote, "MS Sailor, you changed my life forever. You'll be a great big sister." I'm sure of it. It's clear that Mandy and her husband are going to have another child. We all know that this doesn't mean she's leaving Deadliest Catch for good, but she won't be on the show for a while. Everyone can learn something from Mandy's story. That being said, she is taking some time to focus on her growing family while also staying motivated to carry on her father's work. She never gave up on her dream, even when things in her life didn't go as planned. She worked hard to reach her goal. He is so proud of his daughter, Sig Hansen.